The blueprint slipped from Eliza Harrington's trembling fingers as the doctor's words hung in the air like a death sentence. The deterioration is accelerating. Without specialized equipment and therapy, your daughter may never walk again. The billionaire tech mogul who could buy anything, except, it seemed, her 12-year-old daughter's future. Outside the hospital window, Manhattan's skyline mocked her with its promise of endless possibilities, all suddenly beyond reach. 6 months, Dr. Stevens continued, his voice softening. That's our window before the nerve damage becomes permanent. He hesitated. There's an experimental therapy system, but the waiting list is years long, and no one's been able to replicate the design. The drive home was silent, Eliza's knuckles white on the steering wheel. In the rearview mirror, she watched Charlotte stare out the window, headphones firmly in place, her armor against a world that kept taking pieces of her mobility month by month. Eliza had built a tech empire from nothing, had navigated boardroom battles and hostile takeovers, but her daughter's silent resignation left her feeling more powerless than any business crisis ever had. Across town, Mason Foster wiped sawdust from his hands and checked his phone. Another missed call from his son's school. At 38, Mason was a master carpenter whose hands could coax beauty from raw wood, but his life had splintered 3 years ago when his wife died. Now he juggled carpentry jobs while raising 10-year-old Liam alone, their small apartment filled with half-finished furniture and fully formed grief. The photo on his workbench caught the afternoon light, his late wife Sarah in her hospital bed, smiling weakly beside the custom bedside table he'd built her. That project had started it all, his gradual shift from standard carpentry to adaptive furniture. Sarah's illness had taught him how poorly designed the world was for bodies that didn't function typically. Each piece he crafted now carried that knowledge, that intimate understanding of how environments could either liberate or imprison. "Mr. Foster?" The voice belonged to Theo, his apprentice. "There's someone here about the Harrington consultation." The woman who entered his workshop wore wealth like a second skin, designer clothes, perfect posture, eyes that assessed value in seconds. But Mason noticed something else, the desperate look of a parent fighting for their child. "You build custom equipment for children with disabilities," Eliza Harrington stated rather than asked. "I need something impossible built in an impossible timeframe." Mason studied the medical diagrams and technical specifications she spread across his workbench. "This isn't just carpentry. This is medical engineering. Your portfolio shows otherwise. The sensory room for Children's Hospital? The mobility devices? You understand both function and feeling." Her voice cracked. "My resources are unlimited. My daughter's time isn't." Mason should have refused. His schedule was already overflowing, and Liam needed him. But something in those diagrams sparked his mind, possibilities, improvements, solutions, the same creative fire that once made him an engineering student before life redirected him. "I'll need access to your home to customize the installation," he said, already mentally redesigning the blueprints. Relief flooded Eliza's face. "Whatever you need." What neither realized was how completely their worlds would collide. The Harrington mansion sprawled like a modern fortress of glass and steel. When Mason arrived the next day, blueprints tucked under his arm and toolbox in hand, he wasn't prepared for the cold emptiness that echoed through its perfect rooms. In a sunroom overlooking Central Park sat Charlotte Harrington, headphones on, wheelchair locked, her eyes following a bird outside. 12 years old with her mother's delicate features and a stubbornness that radiated from her slumped shoulders. "You must be the carpenter," she said without turning. "Mom's hiring everyone to fix me before she leaves." Mason set down his toolbox. "I'm not here to fix you." Now she looked at him. "Then what are you doing here?" "Building something that works with who you are, not against it." He unrolled the blueprints. "But I'll need your input. It's your body, your space." Something shifted in Charlotte's expression, wariness giving way to cautious interest. "No one asks what I want. I'm asking." That night, after Mason left, Charlotte wheeled herself to her mother's home office. Through the crack in the door, she watched Eliza hunched over her laptop, one hand massaging her temple, the other shakily reaching for prescription bottles hidden behind stacks of files. It wasn't the first time she'd seen her mother's secret medication, but it was the first time she connected it to her own condition. The realization settled over her like a heavy blanket. Her mother wasn't just building an empire, she was racing against the same clock that ticked inside Charlotte. As weeks passed, Mason transformed the mansion's east wing into a rehabilitation space unlike any other. Custom parallel bars with adjustable height. Sensory-responsive flooring that gathered data with each step. A harness system that could be controlled by Charlotte herself. But more than equipment, he built trust. He brought Liam along some days, and the two children, from worlds apart, found common ground in their losses. Charlotte's father had died when she was 4, leaving Eliza to build an empire while raising a daughter. Different paths to the same fractured family structure. "I hate being the sick kid," Charlotte confessed to Liam one rainy afternoon as they played chess in her room. Outside, their parents discussed technical specifications, their voices a distant murmur. Liam moved his knight. "I hate being the kid whose mom died. Everyone at school treats me like I'm made of glass." Charlotte nodded, understanding perfectly. "They stare but don't really see you." "Exactly." Liam studied the board. "Dad says everybody's broken somewhere. Some breaks are just more visible. Why does your mom work so much?" Liam asked Charlotte later as Mason measured doorways. Charlotte shrugged. "Same reason she travels all the time. She's building something bigger than us." Mason pretended not to hear, but later, when Eliza arrived home exhausted, he couldn't help asking, "Does Charlotte know why you're pushing so hard for her recovery now?" Eliza stiffened. "That's not your concern. It affects my work if she thinks you're rushing her recovery to abandon her." "Abandon?" Eliza's composure cracked. "I'm fighting to give her independence before," she stopped abruptly. "Before what?" Mason pressed. Their eyes locked in silent confrontation until Eliza whispered, "Before I can't anymore." The medical file she reluctantly showed him revealed the truth. The same rare genetic condition that affected Charlotte was present in Eliza. Her business empire, her frantic timeline, it wasn't about corporate ambition. She was racing to secure Charlotte's future before her own body betrayed her. "Charlotte doesn't know," Eliza admitted. "I won't be her burden." "Loving someone isn't being a burden," Mason said quietly. "It's the only thing that makes the burden bearable." In the workshop behind his apartment, Mason spent late nights refining his designs for Charlotte's therapy equipment. One evening, Liam found him there, surrounded by sketches and wood samples. "Is this all for Charlotte?" Liam asked, fingering the smooth curve of a hand grip. Mason nodded, measuring twice before marking a cut line. "It needs to be perfect." "You never stayed up this late for other projects," Liam observed with the innocent perception of a child. "Do you like Charlotte's mom?" Mason's pencil paused. "It's complicated, buddy." "That means yes," Liam said with certainty, and Mason couldn't bring himself to deny it. The morning Charlotte stood for the first time in Mason's completed therapy room, Eliza was in London closing a deal. Mason recorded the moment, Charlotte's trembling legs, her white-knuckled grip on the parallel bars, the determination in her jaw, and sent it to Eliza. When Charlotte took her first steps, Mason caught her elation on camera too. Her message to her absent mother was simple: "Look what we built, Mom." The "we" wasn't lost on Mason. Or on Eliza, who watched the video in her hotel room an ocean away, tears streaming down her face. In her 5-star London hotel, Eliza replayed the video for the 20th time, her finger hovering over the screen when Charlotte smiled, really smiled, for the first time in months. The board meeting she'd flown across an ocean to attend seemed suddenly trivial compared to the miracle unfolding in her home. With sudden clarity, she cancelled her remaining meetings and booked the next flight to New York. What no one expected was Richard Greaves, Eliza's business rival, offering millions for Mason's therapy system design. Harrington can't be the only one with access to this technology, he argued. Think of all the children you could help. The offer was tempting, enough money to secure Liam's future, to expand his work, to help countless others. But there was something predatory in Greaves' interest, something that made Mason hesitate. When Mason discovered that Greaves had been monitoring Charlotte's progress through spyware on her devices, gathering data to replicate and market the system before Eliza could, his decision became clear. This wasn't about business competition. This was about Charlotte. The confrontation in the Harrington foyer was explosive. Greaves with his lawyers, Eliza with her security team, Mason standing between them with the complete blueprints. The design is revolutionary, Greaves insisted. The market potential is secondary to its purpose, Mason interrupted. This wasn't built for profit. Everything has a price, Greaves countered. Not everything. Mason turned to Eliza. I'm donating the design to the Children's Hospital, with one condition: it bears Charlotte's name, and any family who needs it has access regardless of ability to pay. The look on Eliza's face, understanding dawning amid disbelief, was worth more than any amount Greaves could offer. What none of them realized was that Charlotte had witnessed everything from the hallway. Later, she found Mason packing his tools. You're finished, she said, a statement rather than a question. With the installation, yes. But you're leaving us. Mason knelt to her eye level. I'm not leaving you, Charlotte. I'm just not working here anymore. That's what everyone says before they disappear. Her voice was small but certain. Before Mason could respond, Eliza appeared in the doorway. For weeks, they had worked side by side, their initial wariness evolving into reluctant respect and then something more complex neither was ready to name. Charlotte believes everyone leaves, Mason said quietly to Eliza. She needs to know that's not always true. Something broke in Eliza's carefully composed expression. I need to show you both something. In her home office, Eliza revealed what she'd been building alongside her business empire, a foundation dedicated to making adaptive technology available worldwide. Charlotte's therapy system was just the beginning. This is what I've been working toward, she told her daughter. Not to leave you, but to create something that keeps helping others even when, she faltered. Even when you get sick too, Charlotte finished. The shock on Eliza's face confirmed what Charlotte had suspected. I found your medication months ago. I'm not a little kid anymore. The silence that followed was broken by Charlotte's steady voice. I've been practicing walking extra hours when you're not here. Not because I thought it would fix me, but because I thought if I was stronger, you wouldn't have to worry so much. She reached for her mother's hand. We're supposed to take care of each other, Mom. That's what family means. Eliza pulled her daughter into her arms, years of carefully maintained composure dissolving into tears. Mason stepped back, giving them privacy, but Charlotte's hand shot out, grabbing his wrist. You too, she insisted. You're part of this now. The foundation launched 6 weeks later transformed the Harrington mansion from a showcase of wealth into a center of innovation. Children with various mobility challenges came for fittings, for training, for hope. Mason's designs evolved with each new challenge, each unique body requiring solutions as individual as fingerprints. 3 months later, Mason and Liam moved into the caretaker's cottage on the Harrington estate. Not as employees, but as family. Mason's workshop expanded to become the foundation's R&D center, his designs helping children around the world. Eliza's condition progressed, but slower than doctors predicted. Perhaps it was having purpose beyond her work, or perhaps it was finally sharing her burden. Either way, she found herself experiencing moments of joy she'd never allowed herself before. The morning Mason proposed wasn't planned. They sat on the terrace watching Charlotte and Liam race remote-control boats across the pond, Charlotte standing with minimal support, her laughter carrying across the garden. The sight of their children, for that's how they both thought of them now, and the easy companionship that had grown between them made words unnecessary. When Mason slipped his grandmother's ring from his pocket, Eliza simply nodded, tears spilling onto their intertwined hands. One evening, as Charlotte walked unassisted through the garden, demonstrating her progress to an attentive Liam, Mason and Eliza watched from the terrace. "I thought I was building her a way to walk," Mason said, "but it was really about giving her a foundation to stand on." Eliza's hand found his. "You built that for all of us." The greatest structures, Mason had learned, weren't made of wood or metal, but of connections between people who chose to remain even when it would be easier to leave. In the end, that was the most important blueprint of all.